And it might have not been. I don't remember, but it seemed like to me there was. You know what?
Maybe.
Probably not for me. But I think probably the older employees that were full-time, because in our department there was me and Johnny Wilbert, there was a lady, Lou Menard, Wallace Semino, and Clemens Traum, and they were older. I mean, you know, they had families and all, and I think that they probably got a commission, but not us. Not us.
Do you remember if anything was easier to sell than other things?
Probably the suits were probably the hardest thing to sell because they were more expensive. Shirts were always not hard to sell. They had pretty shirts. I don't know what brands they had. I think maybe Manhattan. But shirts were probably easy. Suit, shoes. That wasn't too hard.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would be harder to sell a suit than a shirt.
Well, yeah. It's
I mean, you're going to use the shirt way more.
Yeah.
See, how did you get to work? Did you drive there, or were you close enough to walk?
I could have walked, but I want to say most of the time I drove. And I didn't have a car at that point, but Daddy, I was the only driver besides Daddy in the family, so he had a pickup truck, and we had a '58 Chevy that he pretty much, it was mine to use as I wanted. So I would think that I probably drove every day because it was after work I'd go drink beer. And,
yeah.
You know, I'd have to walk. That'd been that much further, so I just drove.
So, what did this job mean to you? Just
meant one thing, that I didn't want to work there forever. You know,
working there that short time, you decided it's not what you want to do.
It's not what I wanted to do, so I guess what it meant to me was that there's something better somewhere. It had to be more money. But looking back now, I mean, it was a place where you could really learn that work is can be a fun place. You know, it doesn't have to always be nose to the grindstone. You can have fun and work, and that's one thing. I mean, we had fun there.
It's definitely good that you had, your classmates there.
Yeah, I mean, it was like an extension of high school.
So, let's see. Did you learn anything there that maybe helped you whenever you became a banker?
Nah, I don't think there was much there that had. I don't think there was nothing there that I took with me that I used in the banking industry.
Did you interact a lot with the cons themselves? Do you remember anything about them?
Hardly. There was one of them who was Sonny Jankower, who was a descendant of let's see, his daddy would have been Edel Jankower, and Edel had married one of the Con daughters, and so this would have been a grandson to, I guess, Mr. Leo, that had been that way, and he was a little older than I was, but wasn't much older, and I don't think he liked us because me and Johnny would pick at him, because back at that point, there was a song called Sonny.
Mm-hmm.
You ever heard of it, Sonny? You smile at me.
Yes, yes.
But every time he'd come by through the department, we just pretend like we didn't see him. We would just start singing the song, and then he just kind of like, you could see his face get red. But
didn't make him mad.
I guess it did, but he didn't never tell us anything. But
I remember last semester, they'd see me and they'd sing "Hey Paul," that old song.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I can relate. So let's see. Do you remember if they celebrated Christmas?
Yeah, they did. We were off for Christmas, and we were off Hanukkah. Was it Hanukkah? Yeah. What's the other Jewish holiday yet? Yom Kippur. I think we were off for both of those, plus Christmas and New Year's.
What's your favorite memory about the store and working there?
Well, we had a lot of fun, but one of the things that I guess I always tell this story is back in the 50s you had the greaser look, you know. Then in the 60s, early mid 60s, you had the beach boy look, the preppy look. Well, then you had the hippie look, but for a short period in between the beach boy, preppy look, and the hippie look, you had the mod look. That's when the Beatles were really, and the Rolling Stones, and Dave Clark 5, and Herman's Hermits were really popular. And in Europe, you had the Carnaby Street look, the mod look, where the guys started everybody was wearing bell bottoms, striped pants. You had the flowered shirts with the big white collars and the big.
Did you follow the trends?
Well, yeah, and about that time, me and Johnny and another friend of mine that we went to school with, he didn't work with us, but we all started letting our hair grow long, and my hair was yeah, my hair was about like yours, maybe a little longer, but that was unheard of in Rain, Louisiana. I mean,
about to say, what did your parents think of that?
Well, they didn't like it, but they never said anything, and then the other two guys were the same way, and we started, you know, we could go to Abdallah's in Lafayette and get this clothes, okay? And so on our days off, we'd go there and we'd come back to work, you know, looking like clowns. But, you know, and after a while, the young boys, they'd come in there, where the hell you get that clothes? Well, we'd go to Abdallah's and buy it. Y'all can't buy it here? No, they don't have it. We go to Abdallah's. And, you know, we'd tell them where Abdallah's was. Well, Wilbert, what the hell are you telling these boys to go to Abdallah's? Well, they want to know where we get our clothes. Where do you get your clothes? Well, we get it at Abdallah's. Why? We got a lot of clothes here, but y'all don't have no clothes like this, Wilbert. So we left it like that, and we still go and get our clothes.
Did they start carrying?
Well, yeah. And so what happened one day, there was in between the dry goods and the women's, you had some offices. And that's where the salesmen would come and show their wares, you know. And so he was in there, so he called Johnny and I. He said, y'all come see. And we walk in there, figured we were going to be fired for something. He said, we're going to be ordering some clothes. Tell me what you like. And we'd go through there, oh, I like this. And Johnny would say, yeah, I like that. Or, you know, we picked it out. There's probably a table from here to that wall. And we picked out. We told them what we liked. We didn't tell them to order it. We didn't, you know, pants, shirts. It was mostly shirts, but we didn't tell them to order it. We just said, this is what we like. And they ordered some. Well, we left, and it was some pretty expensive stuff. We left, went to active duty. We came back, and all of a sudden, the racks are full of that.
Did you go buy any of it?
No, at that point, I wasn't about to wear that crap.
He's wised up since then.
Yeah, we were back we were in the blue jean days by then. So, man, and nobody bought them. And I went in there about 5-6 years later, and those shirts that they had bought that they were going to sell for like $9.50, $10, they were 25 cents, 30 cents. They had all that rack.
So did they have like a clearance section?
Well, yeah, they did.
Or they just kept marking it down?
They kept marking it down, and then, I don't know, when Wilbert would just always comment about that, you know. Oh, y'all stuck us with that. I didn't order them, Wilbert. You did.
Yeah, you asked us what we liked, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't give you no 25 cents for that shirt anyway, you know. But I guess
you had a better place to go get them.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, but by then, that was a short-lived style.
I think we all go through that.
I think that was called the Carnaby Street look, or it was the mod look, something like that.
So do you remember if men and women had to work like different jobs at the store? Could women work in the men's department?
Yeah, they had a woman, Lou Menard. She worked in the men's department. In the hardware department, they had men and women. There was in the women's department, there was no women. No men in the women's department. In the dry goods, I think that was all women. And in the women's shoe department, there was a man that ran that, Walter Billy. people would come from Texas to shop
Is that
there.
the farthest away you remember somebody coming?
Yeah.
Why do you suppose they would come so far?
I don't know. That was, Mervyn Combs was the precursor to the indoor mall, to be honest with you. I had family that lived in Gaydon, and they'd come shop there. People would come from all over. There's not many places where you could go and get all of that under one roof.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess it is kind of like the precursor to the mall.
Yeah,
All the different departments, kind of like a
Yep.
Sears or
Sure.
JCPenney's.
You could go in there and could furnish your house, build a wardrobe.
Do you remember if there's any racial distinctions in the job?
Probably.